Hey guys, Ed from Paranormal Inc. Ohio here. We are back at it again with another podcast. Tonight's podcast episode is going to be about the most terrifying Ouija board experiences that people have had. Now, some of these stories I've gotten from the internet, the research I've done. Some of them are from people I've sent in, emailed me about, and wanted me to tell their story. A lot of people don't want their names being read, and they just don't want their identity out there, which, I'm not gonna blame them. I've had multiple bad experiences with the Ouija board, and but that's why I tell you guys not to use it. I tell my story so you guys can, learn from it. Like I told you last episode was about the origins of the Ouija board or the history of it, and I told you I had many bad experiences. I told you of one experience, and I said that I had multiple, so I'm going to tell you another one tonight as well as telling you some of these. Now, listener discretion is advised. Some of these are quite scary, they are disturbing, and I don't know. I read these stories that people send me, and some of them are like, I believe everyone. I believe everyone when they tell me everything. Sometimes when people tell me things and I'm listening to them, I'm like, really? And you got to think, like, did that really happen? Because the big thing with the paranormal is it could be, it could be paranormal 100%, or it could be a mental disorder, or their minds playing with them. It could be numerous things. And I got this one story from somebody they had sent in, and it's crazy. And I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and tell the story. I mean, this is what they wrote to me. My mother gets interested in card readings and spiritualism just before she has a nervous breakdown with schizophrenia symptoms. One day I was walking through the kitchen to get something or to go to the bathroom. She was with her friends using the Ouija board with a glass and letters on a piece of cardboard. They asked me to join the game. When I put the finger on the glass, it switched across the table, then smashed on the wall. I was 10 years old at the time. My life was already in misery, with two narcissistic parents with a brain age of a teenager. Nothing good came after that experience. My teen years were very dark and sad, and sometimes I feel something looking at me from the darkest corner of my room if I stay up too late at night. I have seen things in a place where I used to live. I was questioning my mental health because I cannot explain what I've seen. If you want to know, a Ouija board will let you know for good, but be prepared to see the things in a very different way. That's just one that was sent to me. Here's another one. It wasn't me, but this happened to my cousins. Because they didn't think the Ouija board was creepy enough, one afternoon they took the board to a small abandoned warehouse. There were 3 teenagers, one friend plus my cousins, Tim, and his sister, Bianca. They pulled out the Ouija board and started asking questions. I don't know what they asked, but to their surprise, the pointer piece started moving around quite strongly. Being as skeptical as any cliched character in a horror movie, the boys laughed it off and said, "Come on, which one of you dumbasses is moving it?" Everyone let go of the pointer piece, and it still kept moving. You think that's the scary part, right? Oh no. The creepiest and scariest part was what happened after Bianca started asking, "Who is it? Who is there? Who's moving this thing?" The entire party says they experienced the same thing. A demonic voice emerging out of nowhere and repeating, "Bianca, Bianca, Bianca, Fucku." Like, it just kept cussing at her. And, after that, something had followed her. Bianca said for many years something had followed her after that. And she has been terrified ever since. She still sees this thing at night in her house, and she dreams of this thing, and it's just always mean to her all the time. Here's another one. When I was 17, I participated in a Ouija board episode with 7 or 8 other people. We used a glass and a cut up piece of paper with the alphabet written on them, and the words no and yes. We did not have the word goodbye. We didn't know we had to. We contacted a spirit, spelled the name Lucif, Lucife. Then the glass stopped moving. It said, Gary, beware, Gary, beware. Gary has 7 heads. This guy, Gary, who we had only met that day, fell on the floor hysterical. Apparently, he had 7 carbuncles around the middle of his torso, from the front to the back, which everyone was unaware of. Gary said, "Don't hassle me, devil," 3 times, disrespectfully. When we decided to end it, we asked if it would leave and never come back. It spelled yes. We asked if it was telling the truth. It spelled no. We asked the same questions. For 30 minutes, we got the same answer. For 30 minutes, no. It was not telling the truth, that it would go and never come back. So we just decided to end it. Threw all the pieces of paper away, so we never ended it properly or safely. Did it go, or has it stayed with all that took part of the past 50 years? For the past 50 years, dark and bad things have happened to all of us, with what appears to be no end in sight. You know, there's a lot, and I even got a story from somebody that decided, she was a teenager and she got pregnant and she had no choice. She couldn't keep the baby. And she wrote a whole story here about it, about how she contacted the child through the Ouija board. And I just don't want to read that one. Not because, I'm pro-life or anything. Everybody has their own decision on what they do in life. And who am I to tell another person what they can and cannot do with their bodies, with their life? That's their choice. But I got another one. This is a really short one, though. A group of college students used the Ouija board during a Halloween party. They contacted a spirit that identified itself as a malevolent entity. As they continued their sessions, one of the students, Sarah, began to act strangely, exhibiting violent behavior and speaking in a deep, unfamiliar voice. Friends grew concerned and they sought help from a local priest. After a series of rituals, Sarah returned to normal, but she later claimed to have vivid memories of the spirit trying to possess her. I can't say it enough, guys. Ouija boards are just flat out gateways to something dark and evil. Now I will tell you my story. Another one of my stories. When I was young, I believe I was 16 years old. I had borrowed a Ouija board from a friend. And my parents were very against it, especially my father. Very against it. He did not want that in his house. So I waited till they went. I think they left. They went somewhere. I went down in the basement, which was creepy enough as it is in this house. This house was already haunted where I grew up at. And I started asking questions with the Ouija board. I had little tea candles lit, and I was by myself. It's down in the dark. And usually I'm terrified of that, even back then, And I did it. Like right now, telling you the story, I'm really creeped out. So I did it. And I kept asking, are you there? Is something there? I mean, I did this for a long time. Hour and a half. Nothing would happen. So I got mad. And I said, this is stupid. You're not real, And I heard a crash in my dad's workroom down in the basement. So I got the flashlight on and went in there. My dad used to have hubcaps, old Ford hubcaps hanging. And they had fallen off the wall. And when I tell you that my dad had them screwed into the wall, like through the hubcaps, the hubcap had fallen off of the screws that screwed through. They screwed through and had fallen on the ground. And, I was like, well, maybe it's a coincidence, maybe it's my mind playing tricks on me or whatever. So I hung them back up, and I went back in there, and I continued, and then I heard the same noise again. I went back in there, and the hubcaps were on the ground again. So at this point, I'm kind of freaking out. I start hearing footsteps above me, like someone's walking through the house. And I went up there, and nobody's there. I went back downstairs. I'm asking more questions, and all of a sudden, I just feel like something is just looming over me. And I'm terrified. Like I'm sweating, I'm shaking. And I hear my name. It's just barely whispered. It's Eddie. And I was like, oh my God. And it sounded like it was all the way down. Like there's this really long hallway down in the basement. My dad still lives in this house. There's this really long hallway that goes all the way to the end of a hall. And the only thing down there is a toilet and the breaker box to the house. And this is a workable toilet. All the way at the end of this long hallway of nothing. And then there's a door that goes underneath the house, like a crawl space. That door always terrified me. Oh my God, when I was a kid, because my dad had a shower downstairs, so we couldn't put a shower upstairs at the time. And this was an old dungeon type basement, not a finished basement with drywall. Like old dungeon, dank, dark, spiders everywhere type basement. And we had to go down there and take a shower every day. And it just terrified me down there. But I had learned about the Ouija board, and I was, into horror movies and stuff, because my mom was huge into horror movies. And, I was like, you know what? A buddies of mine at school were like, oh, I used it and crazy stuff happened. And I was like, I want to find out for myself. So I did, and the hubcaps fell. I heard my name, and it sounded, like I said, like it was far away down the end of this hallway. And I was like, who said that? And it was like right in my ear, like right next to me. And I was like, who knocked the hubcaps down? And I just heard what I did. Just like that, I did. And it freaked me out. I looked down to the planchette, and the planchette had moved over to goodbye. And I don't remember putting it on there, but it was there. And then it went off the Ouija board. So again, it was super dark, but the tea candles were lit, and I saw it move. And all of a sudden, the candles go out. It's pitch darkness. I'm terrified, and it feels like there's something standing right in front of me. And I'm damn near ready to pee my pants. I'm so scared. And I'm just like, what do you want? That's what I said. Like, what do you want? Like, it just blurted out of me. And I heard it say, you. And when I tell you, I ran up those stairs so fast and jumped in my bed, stayed under the blankets until my parents came home. So after that, weird things would happen around the house. Knocks, footsteps again. And, my mother believed in the paranormal, but my dad didn't. My dad was heavy, did not believe in it. Christian. He still is, which that's not a problem. I'm a Christian. But he was just heavy, old school, like, there's no such thing as that. And so I didn't tell Dad, but I told Mom. I said, man, I'm hearing things, I'm seeing things. And she goes, I hear it sometimes too, but, your dad, don't ever say it to your dad. So I said, I won't. And I remember one night specifically, my room was right next to this old dilapidated shed that my dad just refused to tear down. I mean, I tell you, a tree was growing through it. A tree was growing through this shed, and he just refused to tear it down. You know, somebody was burned to death inside of it, and there's still char on the walls. And my dad would use it as a shed. It was so beat and battered and messed up that the door wasn't even connected. You would just lean the door against it. So I'm talking on the phone one night, and I hear something outside. I hated looking out there because it just looked like the devil's house, the shed. And I heard something, and I was on the phone, and I said, I have to go check that out. I think someone's breaking in, because we had somebody steal my dad's ladder out of there before to break into the bank there in the town that I lived in. So I thought somebody was stealing my dad's stuff. So I got mad. I was like, ain't nobody stealing my dad's stuff. And I go outside, and there's nothing. I look in the shed, nothing's going on. I put the door back, and all of a sudden I hear the door fall. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, maybe I just didn't put it up right and it just fell down. And when I went back to the shed was just destroyed. Stuff was thrown and things were just knocked all over the place. Again, freaked me out so bad I ran inside the house. I woke up the next day and I heard my dad mowing. So I'm like, oh, great. He went out there because that's where he kept the mower. He saw that mess. He's going to think I did it and I'm a dead man, right? So he gets done mowing and he comes in. He's like, hey, how's it going? I said, hey. He goes, what's wrong? I was like, did anything look out of place outside to you? And he said, no, everything looked fine. I said, the door wasn't off the shed? He goes, no, what are you talking about? The door was fine. I said, the shed wasn't messed up? He goes, no, everything was fine. He goes, what is wrong with you? I said, I don't know, I must have had a crazy dream. I swear to you, I swear I saw it. And it just scared me. And this thing, whatever it was, it followed me for a long time. Just crazy things would happen. And it finally took a lot of prayer and some help with some preachers to get rid of, whatever it was that had attached itself to me. But it's just the thing with these Ouija boards, man. They just, and I was dumb and I kept using them. Like I did, I would use them here and there, and it just was just so dumb. And now, I've been into the paranormal ever since then, ever since that night. And, I devoted my life to, showing people that it's real. Some people are going to hear this story and think I'm absolutely insane. That's fine. I don't care. How many times I've been called crazy, stupid, kook, stuff like that, because I believe in the paranormal. But that was my story, and I wanted to share it. So I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's episode. If you have your own stories that you would want me to tell, like these other people, just send them to me in the email, paranormalhelp937@gmail.com. Or you can DM me on paranormalincohio.com. You can send it there, and we can even have you on the podcast if you want to be on here and tell your story. If you don't want to, then you can send it anonymously, and I'll tell it anonymously. But again, I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's episode. I had a great time saying it, and I love each and every single one of you, and I want to thank you for everything that you've done and all the support you gave us, and just thank you so much. And you will hear from me for the next one. Bye, everyone.